Drove me crazy.
Yeah, well,
Had to tell me what to do.
You did fine. This
Soon
is
as I said
Michael.
that,
We didn't even
you
know
walked
where
in.
to
You're good.
come down.
But all day. Yeah, the water's been good.
Thank you.
okay. So call the meeting to order. Do I need to? Who does roll call? Does someone actually do that or?
The roll caller.
Alright, member Todd,
Here.
member McKay.
Here.
Member Duarte here. Secretary Sutton, she did touch base with us. Vice Chair Threckle,
Here.
Chairman Griffiths.
Yeah.
Liaison Thornborough.
Yep.
And Liaison Seaton.
Here.
Alright.
Okay, pledge of allegiance.
Up there, where the flag at?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of agenda. Do you have any additions or subtractions?
We do not.
Hearing none. Public forum.
You do need to vote to adopt the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I move to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor, roll call, I guess.
No, you don't have to.
No, I-
You don't?
Yeah, you know, I vote.
It's okay. Public forum.
Just call for the I vote and then ask for the degree opposed.
All in favor?
Just.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to public forum. Should I go ahead and read this?
You could just, for public,
Is there any of the member of the public who'd like to address the? Since you're the only member of the public, I guess
we do have.
you're the only one we could ask.
You have 3 online
You got 3 online.
and seeing no hands.
Seeing nothing, moving along. Approval of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the March 19th, 2024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of March 19th, 2024. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Informational reports, water resources up there.
Turn this right over to Adam for any water resource updates.
Yeah, I didn't prepare anything formal, you know, obviously the season has started, we kind of did our preparation going into this season, so. I think the only update would be, you know, stuff is still full at this point, we're still using still water to operate irrigation season right now. And our inflow into stuff is about 38 CFS right now, we're diverting low 20s, about 22 to 23 CFS. Other than that, you know, I think we're going into summer, so I think we all know what summers are like, really dry, so.
So far, so good. Irrigation season application response update.
Yeah, so we did receive a total of 365 active customers. The miners inches demand is 473.5. For our prospective revenue is 423,279. $423,279. Approximately 3,600 acre feet of water. The miners inches is 72,919. So just want to make sure you guys had all the stats for that.
So 365 customers.
365 customers, which is down from 379 last year, down 14 customers.
And the
The
473.5 is what?
is down from 498, so down 14.5, excuse me.
Is that miners inches?
Correct,
Okay.
demand, yeah. The total miners inches sold is down approximately 38 3,700, excuse me, and the total acre feet to be served is down 152. 162, excuse me.
Okay, continuous use clause. I have no idea what that is.
This is a discussion item that we've had, in previous, agendas. And it's something that we are emphasizing that all customers, while they are an active customer, have to keep their water running 24/7. I think we have this addressed later on in the agenda underneath, a proposed amendment to the irrigation ordinance. So we can either discuss now or we can discuss later, but I would rather like to avoid discussing twice. So my recommendation is discussing it later.
Okay,
Okay.
I had a question.
please.
So $473,000 in income from irrigation is what I believe I heard. Can you tell me what the maintenance cost is on the irrigation system in a year out of that
So-
473?
Just to clarify, and maybe I said it quieter than I should have, it's 423,000. And that is prospective, so we don't, that's not something we've already received. It's 423,279. And if you will indulge us, the next item, we'll go over some of the costs that go into operating the system.
Thank you.
Okay, operating cost analysis for irrigation ditch segments.
Yes, so we did receive a request to go over operating cost analysis for the various ditch segments that we have. And we have done some analysis by using a cartograph and other methods. So to turn it over to Adam, because he put the information together. And I just want to make sure that everything that he has captured inside the packet is clearly delineated out. So Adam, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so everyone's looking at the table, this is what we'll be going over. So let's we'll start kind of go left to right. So on the left, we have a
Just before Adam gets started, I just want to make a note that there is a typo in here and the dates are incorrect. It is in there twice, so we do not have a crystal ball, as was stated earlier. It is October 2023 and November 2023, so we will adjust that for the record.
So the first column kind of calls out the ditch segments. Like, for example, Cherry Acres ditch, Cherry Acres pipeline, Cunningham pipeline, and they're broke out like that because that's what we call our route. So our route and we'll have a service number depending on the customer. So those all match a number, which you would see in the board report during irrigation season, each of those segments. So I broke them up that way so it's best kind of delineate out so I could compare the revenue and the cost going across time. Toward the bottom of that first column, we have upper canal system and daily checks. Those are we call them the rounds. So we go through, that's just their daily, every single day. Upcountry goes all year round, and the main ditch does to the treatment plant. So that's just them going through and checking, make sure all the flows are correct for that segment of ditch. So the first set of column, January 23 through October 2023, that is mirrors exactly what it presented to the board directors in November of 23, the cost for that period between each segment. And from that board meeting, that we had just started cartograph, so that's probably a little short of actually what was done. We were still implementing the program at that time, so I wouldn't take that with a huge grain of salt, because the program was new at the time. And then moving to the next column, we have November 23 to current, and that just covers the cost and the amount of hours for each segment. And then I kind of summed going where it says sum of costs. So basically what we did, we went from January 2023, so it's about 18 months or so. 17 months, and that's the total cost for those 17 months. Kind of sums up to 298, 295. And that is us going out and either proactively seeing a repair we need, or a customer calling us, responding to that. It could be for anything from clearing vegetation, clearing grizzlies, mucking the canal, clearing someone's service, installing the service, any of those activities. What's not included is like the flume installation, any lining project, those are not included in that cost. Those are kind of separate. Those are more CIP costs. And then you keep going across, we have January 23 to current requests. So you have to understand Cartograph, how Cartograph works to understand what that means. So we do task and request in Cartograph. Requests come from, we get a customer call and the request goes into the system. And that gets issued to a department. So in raw water, it's gonna be 5100, which is upcountry, or 52, which is below Georgetown. And from there, since we don't, sometimes the customers know exactly what they need done, but a lot of times they don't. So we go out there and our field operators determine what needs to be done. And then they create a task based on that request. So when we have a request cost, I didn't sum that up because it's already built into the task cost. So it's not summed up, but that just really tells you what the request is. It tells them the amount of customer calls per segment. And I know and it does seem to me it's kind of low. Is sometimes we do put in straight to a task instead of doing a request. If we do know, like if it's a shut off or something like that, obviously we know what that is. So we just put it in a task, even though if a customer requested a shut off or turn off or something, so you do some maintenance, we'll just put a task in. So there's always that judgment call when they're on the phone. So sometimes, I'd say, we're like 80%, 85% exactly accurate of what's going in. And then the last column is just comparing it to revenue, kind of shows each segment, what it costs. I will point out on the upper canal and the system-wide daily checks, those are proportionate, because, obviously the upper canal, a lot of that goes towards, the treated side. And how I broke that up, I think there's a lot of different thoughts how you could do that. I just broke it up on, percent of usage of our water supply. So if we use 65 to 70% for irrigation, I applied that percentage of cost to that work. The other side went to the treated side. But there's obviously different thoughts on how you can do that. So something pretty. But that kind of summarizes the table. So I know there's a lot going on there, but any questions we can go over it more.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's going on with Kelsey Ditch? That has an awful lot of cost and labor compared to the others.
Kelsey Ditch is very long. It goes from Georgetown, so it's nearly as long as the main ditch, but it's just a very long ditch from Georgetown all the way into Kelsey. So the main ditch is broken. Main ditch 1, which only goes to Greenwood Lake. Main ditch 2, and then you also have the Pilot Hill ditch. So you have kind of 3 segments covering the same distance as the Kelsey ditch.
Okay.
So that's why you're gonna see it's gonna seem higher.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it shows, what I'm seeing is that we're taking a loss on that long line. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So is that based on, I see 27 roughly 27 requests or 622 hours, or 89 hours. Is there something there that you're basing your workload on to fix so we minimize this cost and we start getting more?
Yeah, I think, to bring the the cost down. I mean, sometimes a lot of that's like, it's so long, there's different trees in the way, it takes more equipment, more mucking. So like what you kind of would think, say if you line more of it, that would reduce like your time to actually clear silt out of the canal. But sometimes, it's like there's not a lot of really choice. You have to get out there, you have to keep water flowing, you have to clear the vegetation.
Right, but what I'm
So-
asking is, are you now, I mean, now that you can see, you got numbers in front of us, I would say, okay, if I'm a manager, assessing my crew's work, I would be putting, effort into this Kelsey line, to be clearing that, so that we're getting a cost benefit on that water going down Kelsey.
Yeah,
Because as I see it now, we're significantly losing money on that Kelsey ditch.
yeah.
So,
That's one of the dishes that would need to be lined. It would be,
well, I mean, it just
behoove us to,
lining or cleaning or clearing
if
or,
you're cleaning it more, then we're gonna be spending more on it. I think we need to find some way to mitigate the amount of cleaning that we're having to do.
well, that's what I'm saying, is that, start,
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of the cost is, clearing. I mean, that's a lot of the cost is just going through and clearing trees out of it, clearing debris. I mean, that always happens. That doesn't stop necessarily.
Is this ditch part of any of the work with CAL FIRE?
No.
I know we use the main ditch and stuff like that. for part of it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, these ditches, what's your feeling on if, like, we have open ditch? If we were to put pipes in, there's the cost, the grant programs, does it reduce maintenance? I mean, I assume overall it saves money and,
Save water too,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that
evaporation.
over time, I think there'll have to be a big overtime because it's gonna cost a lot to put that much pipe in the ground, but over time, yeah, you're not gonna be moving trees out of the canal.
and there's no grant programs or anything in the works that anybody knows of?
We've explored a few.
Yeah, I know, there's been some historically, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're doing one right now that's lining up a portion just below the tunnel. And it's been almost 2 years to get environmental done for it.
Lining or piping?
Lining. Piping, we're working on up in the upper country. So piping becomes a little bit more difficult when you start to get to services, because some of the services that are in place now have to be replaced, which is not a huge deal, but we have explored certain areas of the district to put pipe in. And that is definitely, if I were to make a recommendation on the Kelsey pipeline, on the Kelsey ditch, you probably are further ahead piping it before you lined it, because then you could work on the vegetation, you'd have less of a need for a big right of way. Again, for the length of that, it's going to be expensive.
right, I'm just looking at, if there's this much, work that's being needed, and you're gonna have to start saying, now that we have cartograph triggered in, that we have a call, 2 or 3 calls every year to the same area, then maybe we need to start focusing on those problem areas to do whatever it takes to get that section fixed. I mean, now that you have the cartograph, it should give you more, information to fix things and where to fix things. I know we're always dealing up country because that's the source, and if we kill the source in any way, we're kind of all shut down. But, on these lower ends, because the biggest complaint is, all this cost for irrigation and all this other, but to show the customers that we're actually doing some kind of cost benefit, where this is a bad problem area, we're gonna start working on it, we're gonna start clearing, and securing it so it's not gonna have the problems, and over time, sort of like a CIP for Kelsey's ditch, that if we start walking down this thing to get it where we're not, this shows like $8,000 in the hole
Yeah.
on that ditch.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we're doing. I mean, we're constantly clearing and cleaning. I think, if we were gonna move on to, like a piping or something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's what we do now. We constantly clear and like, I don't know how you go back on, outside of clearing and moving debris, you know, that's what we do to keep it clean, keep the water moving. I know you're asking,
Okay,
I don't know how to,
okay,
you know.
yeah, I'm
I
just,
think if we throw more resources at it, it's gonna look even more disproportionate, is what I think I'm trying to say.
well, but that's fine on the short run, because if you're projecting that this is an area, and I'm just throwing this out there because, you know, I see a deficit here, that if this is the area that's having a significant negative income,
Sure.
then on the short run, you go in and you fix it, so we start getting at least to balance out. It won't balance out the first year, it comes back because you've hit this much extra money to it, but over time, it pays for itself.
So it's definitely something we can consider, and I think I would say most of the problems with those ditches down there are reoccurring problems, and I think you've seen it and experienced it, where the bramble and the blackberries and the other plants, you can get rid of them, but they're gonna come right back the next year, and they may even come back stronger in certain years. So we can throw more resources. We may have to come up with a different idea for this one to make it a loss leader. And, you know, if you're looking at, this ditch, it's between, 10 and 15 miles of ditch. And you're looking at about $50,000 for every half mile to pipeline.
I thought it was
Easy.
more than that.
Because we could do it in-house, it'd be closer to, like, for about 2,000 feet is about $50,000. That's for the pipe, and then for our guys to go in and set the pipe. Yeah, so that would be, but you're looking at $500,000, almost $1 million to do that whole section.
Oh, but I guess the bottom line is something over nothing. As you get rid of 2,000 feet, that's 2,000 feet, you're not gonna go back to, now you can move on to the next section. I mean, it's, I don't know, I look at it as you just chip off the mountain and the pile eventually gets down to where it's manageable again.
Yeah, we can definitely consider that and put some considerations into the CIP program. I think that's definitely something doable.
Is there any grants or anything you can go for
So
that type of stuff?
the big issue you find with the grants is they're gonna ask us what the purpose of the water is in that section. And when we tell them it's raw water for agricultural purposes, the grants become less. Now, we're still saving water, we'll still be more efficient with the water, so there's still grants out there. But they're not as plentiful as if you were, say, fixing a treated water line or fixing your supply line to your treatment plant. That's what I think where the rock and the hard place argument starts to happen with those types of ditches. But yeah, we can definitely pursue them. I mean, I will be happy to look into more of those. I know there's other areas throughout the district that we would like to put pipeline in the ditches so that we can alleviate some of those issues that we see, mucking, trimming, doing all that extra laborious work. We're trying to fix that in other areas as well. So it's definitely something we can explore for Kelsey.
And with the grant programs, we've had trouble working through the county up here, getting them. I actually had to move our grant programs down to Stanislaus County to get somebody who even like work with me. And we've been applying for sweet grants forever, so we can automate our irrigation up here. And because it's dangerous, those guys are out there at night changing valves, and there's bears, and they can't carry guns or protect themselves or anything. So it's serious, and you apply for these grants and then do the paperwork, and then there's no money left. And I keep a close eye on them. Farming's tough at the moment. We lost crops 2 years in a row up here, and but the grant programs from the grower end are difficult. But I do keep an eye. I mean, I'm always asking here what might be possible, but
There are certain sections of the ditches that are easier to get grants for than others because of where they're located. Anything that's north or I guess uphill from a treatment plant, very easy to get grants for
Mhm.
because we have a justification that we can write.
Sure.
When it's
talking specifically about that Kelsey ditch. It's not that we can't get grants, I think it's just that it's a more difficult process. Now, we do have the disadvantaged community nature of that area of the divide. So that is something we can play on as well. So there's options. We have kind of one-on-one type options.
Is there any treatment plants out that way?
No.
You might think about putting a plant down there. Get a grant for that.
Put a pool filter and call it.
Yeah.
You have two hands.
Go ahead.
I just wanna make sure that when we're talking about ditch lining and piping, that we are also taking into consideration the fact that these ditches do feed environmental areas, and I know that now you're going to be getting the CEQA and all the proper, clearances for that. But I witnessed where I am, tree death after the linings. And with fire up in especially in the upper country where it's hard to get to, I just want to make sure that that's an aspect that is really seriously considered. Right? I understand what's going on and there's costs and all that, but the costs of a fire are outrageous. I have a second question, and that's on your chart. If I'm reading it correctly, the sum of cost, you said it was 17 to 18 months?
Yeah,
That no column?
yeah, from January to 2023 to now.
So if I just statistically annualize it, it's like $210,000 for a 12-month period. And then the final column is at 423 is for the same 12-month period, right?
What was this annual irrigation? So it's 5 months.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's-
yeah,
Right,
But
but I mean,
yeah.
you take care of the irrigation
Yeah.
ditches for 12 months, you
Yeah.
get paid for them for 5,
yeah.
so that's equivalent. So
Yeah.
you're still, it's about 50% of your revenue is for the maintenance. Is that correct?
I think yeah, I mean,
I mean, if it's
Yeah.
212,
what I said, there is not, in here was not, there's like CIPs, projects, so, but this.
and those come out of the ditch revenues.
Some of them do,
The
yes.
water fund, this comes out of the water fund, so, yeah.
So I guess my bottom line question is, are we losing money on the ditches? I mean, this looks like we're not.
I think there'd be a more in-depth analysis to really, I think it has.
Right.
You're probably close to breaking even or losing a little. I don't think we're making money. We're probably closer to breaking. even.
Well, isn't the 218 and all of that say that you can't charge more for the water than it costs you to provide it?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so for breaking even, we don't need a rate increase at this time.
Well,
I mean, I understand we have a 218 coming up,
I would say that's not a good way to look at that.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a consumer's way of looking at it.
It is, but you also have to look at what other costs are being initiated,
Yeah,
so.
which is the in-depth analysis he's talking about.
Yeah, and then, well, that's being done
Yeah.
by our rate
Okay.
consultant at the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we go forward first.
I had my hand up. I just had a quick
Go ahead.
question.
Maybe he's got a.
We still have a few in the room, Mr. Paul.
Well, the first question along the lines of she is saying is that, so if you do this on an annual basis, the revenue is gonna stay the same, but the costs are about 212.
Thanks.
Is that what?
I got 210 for analyzing about,
In that
Yeah.
area, is that what we're saying?
Well, I mean, yes,
This
but I think-
doesn't include everything, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that was my question.
Well, what do you mean it doesn't include everything?
Well, this doesn't include. This doesn't include everything that goes into the raw water system. There's other costs associated.
like, there's like, our permits aren't in here,
Oh, okay.
our water right stuff isn't in here.
I don't think like any of the benefits for the employees are considered into here. So there's other things that,
So you have just, when you have the cost for the employees, you're just counting their salary
salary.
and not any of the other costs associated with it?
I don't.
It is loaded,
It is loaded,
yeah.
okay.
Okay,
But
So
so
I
like-
apologize,
So it's labor, equipment, time, material. But like what I said earlier is, especially the first column there, we had just started cartograph. So even the second column, we probably went from 70% of everything getting in there to probably like 95%.
okay.
Because every time someone leaves the yard to go work on it, they're putting their time in or they're putting material on it, sometimes you're in an emergency and may not get 100%.
so is the
Okay,
cost of
my
the truck
second-
not the cost of the labor?
It is.
It is,
Yeah,
I misspoke. I thought it was
You
just.
don't have to add back in salary.
Salary is in there and it encompasses, I was, that's my fault.
Okay.
My second question is,
that all of this is not just for irrigation. All of this is for the entire ditch system that feeds the treatment plants and all that. So this hasn't been broken
Yeah, it
out.
does, in the bottom it breaks it out. He said in the.
What do you mean?
On the bottom, it's, you see the two little asterisks for upper canal
Okay.
and system-wide daily checks?
Okay,
So that it's only accounting for 70%. Of the costs from those two areas, because those are the prorated amounts of how much water is going through for raw water in there.
so you're saying that's only 70% of all this?
Not all of it, only the asterisks is, all of this is only irrigation. You get-
All of what?
you get all up here, the asterisk ones on the bottom would only be the ones that would apply.
So those numbers are 70% of the total.
Yeah,
But this
Already.
does,
Yeah.
but. My question is, the ditch goes from Stumpy all the way down.
right,
A good portion of that, especially outside that 5 months, is for treated water, to go to the treatment plants to be treated.
right.
But the cost to maintain all of that ditch during, outside of those 5 months is reflected in here.
Yeah, but that's what he's trying to say is that was pulled out. That and that.
What,
The percentage. basis.
what's pulled out?
The treated water portion. It says on the bottom, you read the bottom where it says notes.
Yeah, I read that, but it doesn't make sense to me. You're saying, okay, so 70% of all of this
Uh-huh.
is strictly irrigation?
Correct. Not all of it, just those two bottom pieces where the asterisks are.
Cause that's upper canal. And then this is the main ditch section. So that's 70% of the total cost of
And those are the two things that would feed the treatment.
Oh, so
plant.
this number here is 70% of the actual cost.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and the same,
Below it too,
the same on this 91,000.
yeah.
Okay. So. Assuming we're at the 212 or 210, that's for costs for irrigation.
No, he said there's other costs that aren't in
Yeah.
this.
But
That's just a field guy going out. Saying I need to fix this section of the canal, their time, material, equipment to it.
Okay,
That's it. That's all this is showing.
okay, but you said it doesn't include things like the permits and all that sort of thing.
No.
Okay, so now I'm not understanding why you're saying that this is a wash. If you got 423,000,
I said what we'd have to do is look more in depth because we had CIP projects. There are other things that are not calculated that would be over and above the normal maintenance, this is operating expenses.
right?
But there are other costs that go into maintaining the system. I think what the question was, is it paying for itself? And right, I can't answer that question with a yes or a no without doing more analysis.
Mhm.
Can you do more analysis?
I mean, we are, but it's also being done by the rate consultant as well. So we have, they're looking at whether things are profitable or not. And how much revenue is being brought in versus how much costs are going into all of them.
You know, which future costs would be.
Yeah, what future costs are, that's what we have to, the biggest issue is not what we're doing today. And that's when you said from a consumer's perspective, what I was trying to add was, there are things that need to be done. And I'll take Director Seaman's point of, we have to fix this ditch, this one ditch. Do we pipeline it? Do we clean it out more? You know, how do we make that profitable? There's going to be a cost associated with that. And that's where I'm trying to say, I can't answer whether it's a wash or profitable or in the negative until we look more deeply into what needs to be done and what is being done.
But you wouldn't put the CIP things as part of the costs. That would be separated.
But
That's not part of the operating. It's just like the regular budget.
yeah, but when a ratepayer pays their rate, they're also paying a portion of their rate to future improvements of the system.
Right, exactly,
And that's a CIP project.
exactly.
So when she asks the question of, is 423,000 enough? I don't know, because if we're paying 210 for just the operating maintenance,
Mhm,
but then we need a pipeline 10 miles of pipe, the answer you're looking at is no.
mhm,
If we line 10 miles of pipe, maybe,
mhm.
there's a lot of kind of nuance to that question, and I'm not trying to waver or give you a dodgy answer, it's really
No,
hard.
I
to
understand.
answer.
I would just like to, make sure that
We're-
these analyses are done.
They- they-
Raising the questions that are being raised in this room.
They are being looked at,
And
yes.
we will get to see that report.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
When is it due approximately?
We will be ramping up on it the next 2 months, and probably by September, where the preliminary analysis will come out.
Okay.
I don't know, I don't remember what the exact timeline is, I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I think it's August or September.
I have a short one.
Please.
So the, permits you were talking about, aren't those permits we're normally having to have anyway?
Right, yeah.
So it's not just specifically for irrigation, it's
No,
for
no,
the
you're
whole
right.
line.
You're
So
right.
that's kind of an overshot of, we have these extra costs. I guess if you do the piece of it that is just strictly dealing with irrigation, then there would be like maybe 5,000 or whatever, because the other however many months I'm thinking of, 7 months would be included, that would be the major cost, because if we didn't have those permits, we wouldn't be having raw water coming down to go to our treatment plant.
Yeah, but we also have to
So
look at.
that's the point.
there-
Done. Next,
Let it go,
Also,
Nick, let it go.
let it go.
I'm kidding.
Okay, please.
Steve Dow, I agree 100% with what Christie said, everything she said about water in the ditch and feeding the trees and the bushes and everything like that, and irrigating the soil. It's been happening, we've had these ditches for over 60, 70 years, and probably longer with the miners. I mean, everything's been established. You have the crews going out there cleaning, I mean, this is normal, everyday stuff to do. And the guys going out there cleaning, and if we put pipes in, you're gonna have to lay off people. And I think if we put pipes in, there's nothing to do.
There's lots to do.
That's a common.
That's not gonna happen. though.
Somebody's gonna fall in the pipe and sweep it out.
There's still gonna be brush growing, and there's still gonna be tree limbs coming down on the ditches with the pipe underneath. And you got a chance of pipes breaking, so you're gonna have to go out there and repair the pipes. So I think that pipes are a pipe dream. We ought to keep it and just stay the way it is, and stay the course, and get them guys working out there, and everything's working fine. All this stuff is in the ground, everything's been here for 70 years. Just keep it going, and we're doing good.
So just to
One
quickly,
thing I could say though is, we need to get the customers that we lost like 5, 6 years ago, the irrigation customers, we need to get them back. We need to get the sales up and get more water selling to these people, and we'll be doing good. I mean, we lost a lot of customers, and just this year we lost, I forget, what did you say? We lost like a dozen or something?
14.
14, yeah.
So just to clarify. The pipe, just because you're putting a pipeline, it doesn't mean you have less labor costs on a pipeline, so just to address that.
Yeah.
We are mandated by one of the reasons why a pipe might be beneficial is we're mandated by the state to not lose water. So all of the trees and all the other things that are being watered, technically that's a water loss that we have to account for at the state, and we can actually get fined as a district. So that could cost the district more money in the future.
Then we need the lobby.
Yeah, but then you'll get sued for
No.
killing the thing in the environment, because that's an environmental issue then, so.
Well, we get regulated on one side by the state
Right.
and sued
No,
on
I
their side, so
understand.
we're not in a hard place, and all those
Yeah.
are our added costs.
Right, and that's why.
you're feeding the trees.
It's fire prevention, it's
Yeah.
not feeding the tree.
Yeah.
Use the right words.
We established years ago that we were losing 1/3 of our water to evaporation and seepage into the ground. That was in a fast forward like 7 years ago. I remember that.
Unfortunately, the state doesn't approve of that anymore.
I know.
The state is going to make sure that we are as efficiently, using the resource as efficient as possible. And so a lot of those arguments those are old arguments.
But right there, in September of 2023, we got money for wildfire prevention and drought resilience.
Yes.
Yeah. Words.
Well,
So we got paid to water the trees.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it for free, now we have to pay for it.
Mr. Ray Paul.
Okay, so this meeting goes back to at the Pilot Hill Grange. So it's, we have to be aware of unintentional consequences down the road. And that is, if you start lining the ditch and putting pipes in, you stand the chance of having people's wells go dry that are closer to the ditch. So, that percolation that you were talking about 35% a minute ago. You have to be aware of that it's making a big environmental change. And you could have people, like I said, that their wells may not operate. And when you cut that percolation off. So that was all I had to say.
I have a question.
Please, go ahead.
So your comment about it goes back to Pilot Hill Grange, what does that mean?
There was a meeting years ago. May have been 5-7 years ago about it was when the big increase,
Oh,
price
with the
increase came.
218.
That
Okay,
was one of
I
the,
get it.
okay, that was
All
one of the
I got it.
discussions.
Got it. Thank you. I was there. I remember.
I think I was there too.
Anything more?
I do have to say for the record.
Please.
We have to be efficient with our resources, and it's not my responsibility to pay for everything around it. And the groundwater won't go down because we're using the water to irrigate around us, right? So we do need groundwater built up, but we've got to be accountable for the water. We've got to be transparent how we use it. And the pipes, if we want to move into the future, we need pipes for irrigation. I mean, I can plant and buy more water if I have pipes. If I have an open ditch, the frogs are happy, but I can't plant anything. And there still is growth. I mean, I am creating a greenscape with my vineyard, and I can tell you the deer are happy. The bear are ecstatic. They've got free food, and they can tell you what grapes are going to be harvested before anybody else can. But I do understand the responsibility for sustainability and environmentalism. And everybody wants that. Nobody's going against that by putting pipes in. And we do really, really want to increase the groundwater levels. But we can do that and have the pipes, I think. Nicholas knows a lot more about this sort of thing than I do, but it all goes hand in hand. You have, the well water, but by using efficient pipes for the irrigation too, we're allowing more of the groundwater from the rainfall to stay in the ground and not pull it out. So in theory, by having good irrigation, we're increasing our water basin, I think. There's an argument to be made,
No,
or
it's close. If we have less open ditch, we're collecting less of the groundwater, the surface flow of the water. So I think what you're trying to say is if we're piping the water, then the water will infiltrate when it rains and when it does, other weather events. Right?
yeah, we'd rather have people buying irrigation water than using well water and pumping it out of the ground.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
I'm filling ponds and.
Go ahead.
I think what Christie is talking about is that if you pipe the ditch or seal the ditch,
Uh-huh.
then you're not getting all that seepage from the ditch that waters the trees and provides for an environment around the ditch area. And also what happened with the section that she was referring to is that the seepage that was coming out of the ditch was also feeding a creek that went down, clear down into Greenwood
yeah,
into that area. And then when they lined the ditch, then that stopped. That stopped that creek. It affected right around her house because that's where the ditch actually is.
yeah,
And so the environmental impact of that ditch basically leaking. But if you put a pipe in there, or if you go and gunite it, then that stops all that and affects the surrounding environment.
yeah. But I
So-
mean, a lot of the environment exists just off natural rainfall.
Yeah.
And you've artificially created the ditch in the first place.
Mm.
100 years ago.
But a long time ago.
Right.
And that's what established this ecosystem in that area.
And you can take that into consideration, but I can tell you, we bought the ranch in 1999 and we had a wetland through the middle of it. And we have increased that wetland by about 100% since we planted the vineyard. It is
Through what
doubled.
you have done.
Yeah, and I think most people would try to take things into consideration. I appreciate the example, and you've got to keep that in mind and work around it. But yeah, I mean, our wetland is definitely double the size it was, because we did the environmental impact studies. So I have all the
Right.
environmental reports from when we developed the
But the
ranch.
environmental impact studies weren't done with the ditch lining that I was referring to.
Correct.
It was called a modification and it was not.
Maintenance, it was called.
It was called maintenance, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then there's also just the regulations that you have to abide by from down from the state.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
That's what we're talking about.
And there'll be more.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's
Moving along, I forgot where we are. I assume we're on action items. Does
Yep.
anyone know?
Yep, that's
Is that where we are?
Yep.
A review of current and future water seasons.
So I don't have any updates for this. I think we just got started in this water season. I've heard that everybody's water's flowing good so far. We're 6 days in, so if there's any issues or updates, then, you know, I'd love to hear them, but I don't have anything that we're gonna identify as potentially changing or moving anything at the present time.
Okay,
Mr. Liaison.
yeah, go ahead.
I think we finally got it right in as far as the timing and because I have heard nothing. Last time I heard a lot of complaints about, you know, and the complaints, the solution, at least people were complaining, was to do exactly how we did it. And so I think that we should probably keep these dates forever. I haven't heard us, nobody's called me, nobody's emailed me, I haven't seen anything on social media. Yeah, I'm surprised.
It also rained the week before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it all depends on the year.
Oh, there was
too.
that, yeah.
That helped.
Well, we also did a really good job of messaging, and I would give
Yeah,
Ms. Olson a huge shout out because we put together a brand new flyer, lots of big bold words and letters and. You know, we tried with, you know, Water Smart to send out reminders and emails and. You know, we did everything we possibly could to get the information to the customer of when the start date was going to be, so we could minimize the miscommunication portion of them.
yeah, well, it was well done. So like I said, I mean, I was shocked, I haven't heard a single thing.
Well, thank you, irrigation.
Okay, review of proposed ordinance 2023-04 rules and regulations for irrigation service amendments.
Yeah, so this item kind of came up with. We have the ordinance. And if I say this incorrectly, I'm gonna turn it over to Liz because she's worked on this a little bit closer than I have. We follow the treated water rules, which are very, very generous to the customer for health and safety concerns. And in the past, we have had a 45-day delinquency period. The problem with the treated water, when SB 998 went in, which gave 90 days of delinquency before you could discontinue service. The ordinance was not updated from following the original treated water rules. So because the season is 5 months, basically by the time you've hit your 90 days, the season is just about over. So you're 2/3 or 3/4 through the season by the time we can actually discontinue service. And we are looking to go back to where it was previous and have the 45-day window reactivate of non-payment. Secondly, this also will cover some service fees and charges for coming out and doing some of the work on people's properties. So if someone needs something addressed, Ms. Seaman, do you mind if I use you as an example?
Of course.
So,
course you mind.
Director Seaman is a irrigation customer, and she called us up and requested that her service be turned off by one of our employees temporarily so that she could do some maintenance on her property. So we came out, turned off her service, she did the maintenance that she needed to do, we came back and we turned it back on. So we would like to institute a service fee if you are requesting our assistance in helping with your irrigation service. And lastly is we have, this is kind of where I said
Broke a
it.
pipe, okay?
No, I thought,
So now there's a fee and it's your fault. There's no fee.
I think this is a perfect example of what Chris says. Are we profiting? This is another way of having some of those customer requests be fulfilled and paid for and accounted for in the system.
But in all this time, you never thought of it until her.
I wanted to really stick it to her.
Okay.
And the funny part is, when I asked about this,
Yeah.
and they said, oh, well, it's only if it's something that's kind of egregious. If you're just doing you call ahead, you have it done, then it won't be a cost.
Yeah, so and it would follow the same rules. It's a $75 for immediate. So that immediate is within 24 hours. Adam, if I'm wrong on the time frame, please correct me. And then $25 would be at the district's convenience, which would be, I believe, 72 hours is what we're calling the district's convenience. The other thing that this would also cover is, we discussed earlier the continuous use, and I wanted to discuss it down here. So if we are called out to address your service because you are turning your service on and off and kind of breaking the rules of that ordinance where you are told that you have to run 24/7 and it's affecting the system, if you're doing it and you're not affecting the system around you, I don't think that we won't be called out. But if we're called out to address that, then this fee would also apply to that.
And it builds in repercussions, so we can kind of escalate.
Yeah.
if we need to.
I don't, Mr. Griffith, I don't have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
if my memory serves me correct, wasn't there an ordinance that we discussed last year
Yes,
where only the district can turn it on and off, that the person that has that's paying for the irrigation water cannot turn it on and off?
Correct.
So now we're gonna be charging to come out and maintain the procedure?
so this wouldn't account for like your startup of your service or the
Mhm.
ending of your service. This is
Mhm.
only during the 5-month period. If you are calling us because you want to have something done. This is a very similar thing. If a treated customer calls and says they need to put a new water shutoff in, they call us and we turn the water off at our service stop. They are able to change out their shutoff valve or their PRV or whatever it is that they want to change. And they call us back and we turn it back on. And we also do a service charge for that. And it's simply us coming out. Now, if you have another way of maintaining your system where you cannot affect the rest of the system, then by all means, that's up to you.
So if we've got a broken pipe and we need to turn the water off to fix the pipe, it'd be a couple hours. We turn it back on and the only person it affects is our property. We still have to call you out.
Doesn't work like that.
No.
Doesn't
You
work
can
like
turn
that.
off yours on the phone. You got the meter, you got the district service valve. The other side of the meter is your valve. You can
Right.
turn that on and off.
But not in irrigation.
to
Not
fix the light.
irrigation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't know, you could walk up to the
Good
box
point.
at the end of the this thing, and put your board in, go down and fix it.
But you don't have a
Well,
valve.
if you are doing that and you are affecting service for other customers and we come out and find you have turned your service off on your own, that's when this would take effect. If you are able to do it and not affect other customers, we're never gonna come out and know about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
That sounds like don't ask no.
but it is, don't read
don't
too
wanna-
deep into the,
Yeah.
The issue,
But-
the issue is it does go against the continuous use clause within the ordinance, and so that's what we're trying to address.
so,
There are, if you listen, give me a
Go
double,
ahead.
one more sentence. There are customers who turn their systems on and off intermittently throughout the season. And it creates call outs for us, where our guys have to go out and they have to adjust and they have to continue to, maintain water levels. We have certain sections of the ditch that go dry because they've had it turned off and now they're opening it back up and they're taking all the water. So that there are service calls where our guys have to go out and address other customers' issues because of a certain customer who has.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the wrong word here, but I'm jimmied with their system
They're on
or
like
affected their
they're
system.
like on a timer, where they turn their irrigation on at certain times of the day and then turn it back off. I can watch my sprinklers, when I start in the morning, they're powering out good. And then as the day comes on, somebody's got something on a timer that kicks their irrigation on, and all of a sudden
Okay.
mine takes a dump.
I think what I have trouble with here is the blanket, this fits all instances. Cause it doesn't give the wiggle room if you wanna turn it off to fix something wrong on your property and it affects no other person.
So then you do it, you take care of it. It's just like if a treated water customer
But if she turns it off,
and it affects other
then it
customers.
affects other customers.
It-
Theoretically, it will always affect another customer.
You do it fast enough when somebody gets there and brings it
And
down.
again, and again, if we're supposed to be independent managing our own property. This just kind of goes against it doesn't have enough wiggle room if we have a broken pipe. Turning off the irrigation long enough, because I have a mayor who loves the sprinkler heads as scratching posts,
Sure, I understand.
okay? The blanket, one size fits all, isn't working.
Yeah, but I think that's where I say if we are called out because there's an issue with, say, your neighbor, and I'm just gonna use, your neighbor is having a problem with their service because you turned your service off and we are responding. That is when the charge will happen. And it's gonna be a warning first. We're gonna let you know, hey, don't do
Okay.
this again.
Even though we all have separate pipelines.
So you're very, you're in a different location
Yeah,
than
I am.
everybody else.
I
But
am.
your turning yours off still could affect your neighbors.
Mhm.
Could, well, probably won't, but could.
Hasn't yet.
Cause you get the ditches that will overflow, cause these guys are going out and putting a certain amount of water into those ditches to be able to give service to everybody. So you have somebody that turns it off, now the ditches overflow here, and then turns it back on. These guys have gone out now because the ditches are overflowing, and now they gotta bring them down to get them level. And then all of a sudden, you turn yours on, the ditches now drop, and now other people aren't getting their water because of this one big fluctuation. And that happens, and that's the problem we keep having, is that service has to be on 24 hours. You turn it on at the beginning, May 15th, you let it blast. These guys can go out, do their regulation, and not have to go out every week or twice a week to jack this water level up and down. And that's what is the problem that goes on in those ditches.
I can tell you how you can fix it if it's a pipeline. Put a valve to your service here, another valve up here, open this puppy up, let it flow into your,
We have,
in your reservoir, fix your line at the bottom,
We've-
boom, done.
we've already done that,
That's good.
okay? And not only that, every up pipe has a turn off,
Yeah,
okay? But we still, once or twice a season, we need to turn it off to fix more,
oh, yeah.
okay? Again,
So,
this goes
so
against
let me ask-
what the ordinance.
can I ask you a hypothetical question? Are
Always.
you, are your customer, or your neighbors being affected when you turn the water on and off?
No, but that's not, that wiggle room is not.
It is,
In the
because we are
ordinance.
not being called out to address your issue.
So it's only if somebody
Right.
calls you with a complaint their water's messed up.
Right,
If we go out and we're trying to figure out why the water is, I'm gonna use Cherry Acres ditch as an
I'm at
example.
the end of the line, so I watch everybody that
When
flips
Bill,
their stuff on
if
and off.
Bill is fiddling with his system, turns it off, and we have it reset with his service off. And then Bill goes and turns his service back on, takes all the water out of the ditch and
And
fills his
I'm calling.
pipeline with it, and we have to go out and we're like, why is there no water in this ditch? That's Bill's fault.
Bill.
We're gonna go get Bill and we're gonna say, hey, Bill, what are you doing?
Hey,
Please
life
don't do
happens.
that again. If Bill does it a second time, we're like, hey, Bill, if you do this again, we could discontinue your service. Please don't continue to do this. And those are the ramifications. I think it's two completely different arguments that we're having.
Yeah,
I think,
Because
I think it'd be easiest,
Plus you got
just
issues.
put in the ordinance, if there's a problem, blame Bill.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
yeah, like I
All
said,
in favor?
hey, put a blow off valve there so you can turn the water out and
Just floods.
close this one here, go fix your problem.
Yep.
Turn the blow off thing off, go back around, boom, you're on your
Yep.
way.
so all
That's what I got.
all of that, anything beyond our boxes is your responsibility anyhow. So
Yep.
if you feel that's a remedy for your situation, we as a district have no say in how that is remedied.
And put that in between October 15th and May 15th.
Yeah,
Or
so
irrigation,
Yeah,
irrigation
Yeah, I've already got one, I
season
got a full.
And not-
Right,
and not definitive dates.
right.
so I understand. But like I said, if you're affecting people around you actively, that is when this will take effect. If you are not affecting people around you, we won't. Remember, Todd, we won't even know if you turn it off or not, if nobody's affected around you.
Yeah,
And it all depends on what
That's-
kind of a system you have too. If you have
yeah,
your own box up there with your own thing that comes up and gets full to your pipe that goes down. And you have a break. And it goes dry, you got time to fix it
Yeah,
before it builds back up.
we don't have ditches down there either.
Yeah.
Okay, is this all hashed out now?
So I think what we're asking for is if the committee will recommend this to the board for adoption. This will go through an ordinance process, and I believe it's either 30 or 60 days, I don't know, you're the latest, 30 days. Yeah, so this won't take effect until July, basically.
Okay,
Yes,
you've
go ahead.
only talked about the service fees. I want to talk about the time periods that you've allowed for in this very, very long, proposed amendment.
12 pages.
What,
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the reasons behind the ordinance, but I do think the turnaround times are a little too harsh.
which, turnaround?
The 48 hours and the 10-day notice times that are in it. I'm not knocking postal carriers.
That's on top of 30 days.
Yeah, I understand that. So somebody's late,
By
right?
30
And
days.
you're gonna give them a notice that says, within 48 hours, we're gonna turn you off. You're gonna mail them the notice? Is that snail mail?
The 48-hour would be not the mail.
They do call as well, because I've been in that situation. I was on the online bill pay, and for some reason, one of my accounts wasn't getting paid online.
Mhm.
in the office, and then I wouldn't get a
Mhm.
reminder in the mail, and I've got really dodgy mail, and I don't know what
You know-
happened. But they did call me from the office and just say, hey, heads up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do push, we'll do email, we will call. I mean, we're not gonna just shut you off, just, to shut you off.
Are you making sure that you've made contact
Yeah.
before you?
That's why we're gonna go through the whole suite of services that Water Smart has to offer
Mhm.
in our billing system,
Mhm.
to make sure. If you choose to ignore all 4 different methods, I mean, there's not much we can do at that point.
Well, I just want to make sure that the customer has actually received those notices, and I don't know how.
Well,
We send them out.
So there's like a tiered escalation. So we start with the Water Smart, so the contacts we have for you, email, phone, we go through those, and then if no contact has been made, there's an actual physical visit with a door hanger.
Okay,
Yeah.
on the email, can you send the return receipt on it so that you know when it's been opened?
A red receipt, you mean?
Yeah,
Water Smart.
Water Smart does that. So we know when something's been
okay,
opened.
good. These are all things I didn't know.
But if you're ignoring all 4 of those pieces.
No, if you're ignoring, that's different. That's not my concern.
We're making every attempt to get the information to them.
My concern is to make sure that the customer has actually received the notices.
Yeah.
And that the timeframes start at the receipt of the notice, not the sending of the notice. Are you following?
Well, the first notice that you're delinquent is your next bill with the past due amount.
Right, okay,
So you definitely get that.
okay.
And then after that, we escalate through those other.
Like I said, I just want to make sure that that, you know,
Yeah, no, it shouldn't, if it's a surprise, there's no way it could ever be a surprise. You don't make contact.
well, I wasn't sure if it was snail mail or not, because I know that there's on a divide, there's always people saying, did you get my mail? And I
Yeah,
go,
we
you
do,
know.
and I think we would do
No,
a door hanger before
Mhm.
final shut off.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I've had trouble with,
Oh,
the post office, and we've discussed that. With other things.
Yeah.
So I would not rely on snail mail.
It's an option, but we don't rely on it. We use
Okay,
other
that's
methods,
fine.
yeah.
I think they got it covered pretty good. I mean, they even go to the door. If they don't hear nothing from you, they're gonna go to your door.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they got it covered pretty
But
good.
I've got several instances where I put stuff in the mail at my local post office and it never gets placed.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
What about the people who are repeatedly late?
As long as you pay before the 45 days, then you're okay.
The 10% covers it.
10% would still apply. It's the same as if you're treated water. So we have people who pay late regularly. And unfortunately, they still get a penalty. We have people who pay early regularly, so it's all gonna be the same kind of, we're trying to make it equitable between the two different services. The big change here is reducing the amount of time, and it always was 45 days in the past. So before 2021,
I don't have a problem with 45. I have a problem with the 48 and the 10 out, the 10 days. That's where my problems.
yeah, but the 10 days,
45 is reasonable.
yeah, but
I'm just saying.
that's, I'm not sure what your 10-day issue is, because it's 45 days is
Right.
always been,
Right. Let's get past that. After the 45 days comes the 48-hour and the 10-day notices.
yes,
Yeah.
that, but
Very even.
that's what it was in the past. It's before 2021,
Mhm.
before SB 998
Mhm.
was passed,
Mhm.
that's what it was.
It was 45 and then 10 and then 48.
Correct.
She's saying no.
Sorry.
Before SB, yes, before the treated water rules changed, the state changed them for us.
Yeah,
And all we're doing is taking the ordinance, which says we follow the treated water delinquency rates. We're taking it out of the power, that's for health and safety.
No, I understand all that. I understand. My question is, it's 45 and then 10 and then 48. Is that the progression? You're 45 days late, you still don't pay. You get a 10-day notice that we're gonna turn it off. And then you get another 48 hours.
So your lock off occurs on the 45th day of delinquency, so you get a 30-day notice with your second bill. It'll tell you you're delinquent.
Okay,
You'll get a 10-day notice off of that.
okay, so that's 40.
And then there will be that 48-hour notice.
Which is
So on day 45 of delinquency is when you're looking at losing
So the
service.
45 is all of it included.
Correct, yeah. So.
So it's actually
full
30
umbrella.
plus 10 plus 48. I mean, it's not 48, it's.
You actually get 5 days.
5 days.
But we're gonna send you a 48-hour notice, say that, hey, we're turning out 48 hours.
Okay.
Sounds to me like she's trying to figure out when the last minute is, so she can come on down and pay.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I'm sorry.
I changed my address in PO Box
Oh,
so that I would get
We losing
more
you?
timely.
I have to take care of these alarms.
Oh.
see you, Fran.
Yes, 4 of 7, we're good.
Please.
Okay, on page 8. Under G, it's discontinuation of service for non-payment, sort of where you were. It says if the bill is delinquent for at least 45 days, a district may discontinue irrigation service. Is that the right word you want to be using? It's either we're gonna do it or we're not gonna do it, but just not,
I think,
maybe we're gonna do it?
I think it's pieces like if we have emergency or something like that, that's probably why it give us a little.
You want to change it to shall, we can make it a shall.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is if we're running down this path of 45 days, the district will be, we're gonna be shutting it off. It's not oh, by the way, I don't think I wanna shut it off today. You know what I mean?
I mean, I appreciate it because it's, so I live in Modesto, right? And if I've screwed up because I've handed my bill pay to somebody else to help me out with, and we've messed up a few times in a row, and the office calls me and they say 48 hours, and I'm like, God, you know, I can drive it up there in 52 hours.
Right.
It's a local business, like you're saying, be nice to the trees, you know, it's kind of nice to have a slight little bit of flexibility. Sometimes you do screw up. And the office does have that bit of flexibility to say, okay, you can have another 4 hours, do you know, get up here at 8 o'clock on the Monday morning, and because 48 hours might hit on a Friday. And they say, okay, you can get it up here Monday morning, drop it off, and we'll give you.
I come from a regulatory background, so if everything's shall and will, it's gonna happen. But you know, if you're calling and tell them you're gonna be up there,
And you know,
They can let it
I doubt
slip.
I hope it would never get to that point, but I don't know that it has to be.
Right.
Because that goes back to your point of like the 48 hours. Well, this gives you that little bit extra wiggle room where that 48 hours it's there when you need it, but you don't have to use it if there's some sort of circumstance.
There are circumstances.
I think May is fine.
I think May kind of,
And if your 45
And that's
days falls on a Saturday,
Right.
you get 47 days.
There you go.
and then I just wanted to say, if you go through here, there were some areas that I was reading that just called it water, not irrigation water, so maybe check that. That was the only other thing, I don't find them right this minute, of course.
It's in the
They're just-
irrigation ordinance.
I know, but just to make sure it's black and white and clear.
You
Okay.
could say, if you're gonna say anything, you could say raw to take it out of the
Well,
treated.
No, every
context.
place in here says irrigation
You
water.
don't want to call, we're not gonna call it irrigation water. We call it raw water.
Let me run this one more time. This ordinance in here says, in most
It
cases,
shouldn't, it really shouldn't, because technically irrigation water is a regulated class of water from the state, and we have to be very careful with that, because we are going to have irrigation rates underneath the treated water as well, that are.
so you're saying this isn't done correctly.
Well, as of now it is, but moving forward, it might not be. We may have to go through and just take out, it would just be changing from irrigation to raw, and it actually, it saves. It's better for you as a customer to be called raw water than irrigation water. That's what I'm trying to say.
Anyway, I stand where I was at, that it needs to be consistent throughout this thing. Whatever it's gonna be, it needs to be.
I mean, if we're opening this up, we can probably go through and change that.
How about that?
I'm sorry.
Most people don't know what irrigation water is, so they might drink it.
Yeah, well, raw.
No, no, but this one, the
I think
ordinance.
Ross
Kate,
confuse a lot of people. Is that sewage
Yeah, that's
or what
exactly
is that, you know? I think we're used to calling irrigation water. I think
We can keep it as irrigation, it's fine. I mean, I don't think
I would
anybody's
just
coming
leave it
for
alone.
us.
That's my opinion.
So we're just adding where it has water. We're gonna add irrigation in there.
I don't even think that's necessary. It's in the irrigation ordinance and it just says irrigation water throughout the whole thing, like you said.
It's raw water.
Let's throw a date out there. Remember the date issue?
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Let it go.
Fun back to the notices, instead of saying 48 hours, put a date in those notices, calculate the 48 hours.
Well, you know how you get like there's your, I don't know, the electric company, does the electric company set up 48 hours?
Is it what?
Would have been
Electric company, they do like a big red death letter.
It's a 15-day notice.
Okay, I'm from Southern California, and Edison used to send us a 48-hour notice too, and it'd be like, you have 48 hours to pay this. I mean, they never stuck to turning it off after 48 hours, but they would say you have 48 hours to pay this. And so that's what we're gonna be sending out.
Okay.
So I think we were looking for some consensus from the board, the committee to send to the board for adoption of this. It is an action item, so that's what we were hoping to have you all vote on it.
Oh, I have one more question. I'm sorry.
So this is proposed ordinance 2023-04.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was, I went back to my notes. When is a lien placed? Is it at the beginning of the process or at the end of the process when it's turned off?
The end of the process, after
Okay.
non-payment. So we, every year on August, between tenth and twelfth, depends on what day August tenth falls, we would put the lien on the property, but it's for a year. So if you're delinquent before July, then we would put it on in that August. If we are delinquent after July, then we would put it on the following year. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's called lean season.
Yeah, we're in lean season right now. Yeah, so we have to have the final rolls to the county by August tenth.
okay, and you notify the customer.
Oh my gosh, we have to post it in the newspaper, we have to post it online, we have to post it everywhere.
Is there a procedure to dispute?
You could come and talk to us and we're gonna, yeah,
And how does one get the lien off? Is simply paying the
pay it
bill
off,
enough?
they pay it off.
Okay, thank you.
So it actually gets paid to the county. So the
Right.
lien goes to the county, then you actually are obligated to pay the county. So the county will go through and also notify you once a lien has been placed. And the county will work with you to get it paid up.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Now, okay. So,
We're we're all good.
Yeah.
So, we're on action item B, review of proposed ordinance 2023-04 rules and regulations for irrigation service amendments.
Yeah, that's what we're on now. So we're looking for a motion to push that to the board.
Yes.
I'll motion to send to the board.
Okay, it's been moved to send to the board. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to send the proposed ordinance onto the board for action.
We have to vote.
All in favor,
Aye.
please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's passed. Okay, irrigation committee member comments and reports. Does anyone have any comments and reports?
I have a question.
Please.
In the last minutes, it says that member Duarte,
Yes,
that you were contacted by Davis Engineering about water use research.
yep.
I'm curious whatever happened with that.
They came up and had a look at the ranch with my son, and I forwarded the email to Elizabeth.
Yeah, we received it.
And then, I don't quite know what they're up to. I lost touch.
Did we get a report back?
Nothing yet.
No.
They're working with EDWA on this. It's a El Dorado Water Agency program and we haven't received any
Okay,
information.
nothing yet
No, they're a good company. I think they're just investigating options.
in process.
Well, that would be something from the district to get back to the irrigation committee.
No idea.
Yeah, we don't,
No, I mean, that's what,
yeah, we don't have anything. I don't even know what's gonna happen or when it's gonna happen. If we receive something, then I will be sure to disseminate it to the.
But the contact has been made, the connection has been made.
I mean, yes, it's not much of a connection.
Information has been.
Everything's transparent, so yeah.
Yeah, we received an email, we discussed it, Ed was doing it, and so I wish I had more to give you.
Yeah, we haven't had
Just
that.
the status update.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
haven't had that from them.
Okay. I'm just.
All right, agenda items for next irrigation committee meeting. Does anyone have any particular agenda items that you'd like to have on next?
I had a question, an idea.
Idea.
Sorry, let me find it. So as I was flipping through this ordinance, some of the notifications which we may want to put out to the irrigation customers would be the, since we did the 24-hour, whatever, maybe we need to have the specific as it gets hotter. District canals and reservoirs should not be used for human or animal swimming, bathing, blah, 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 blah. That little piece go out to our customers, since I know there's a few that use
You're
it.
talking about like a postcard of that?
Yeah, and the livestock or any domestic animal should not be permitted to contaminate the water supply.
We can absolutely do that, and just to be aware, it's about $1,800 to send a postcard out.
Wow. Mhm.
We better put a lot in that.
Well, what if we do it by the email and the water smart?
We can send emails out.
Yeah, why
but,
aren't we
yeah.
doing it electronically and hit these people with, we're not hitting with the whole ordinance, but specific items in the ordinance so that they are made aware and reminded of, requirement.
That might be a bad idea, just to sort of set up on somewhat of a regular basis, not every week, but just, throw
Right.
out little reminders here and there about the don't.
The more you send stuff out, the less people read.
That's what I'm saying, you don't wanna do it regularly,
So I'm saying the
but
more
use the
you,
mechanism.
yeah, but if you're sending it out monthly, people.
I didn't say that,
But how often are they getting emails from GDPUD?
not very often.
Not very often.
I get a from the irrigation committee, that's it.
Yes, I-
That's a different service.
Exactly, oh, well.
So that was a thought,
We can do that.
or you're just sending out little snippets of the ordinance to remind them, oh, by the way, you as an irrigation customer, this is under section blah, blah, of the ordinance. And give their 2 cents.
So like, how do you keep a cow out of a ditch where the ditch runs all the way through a person's pasture?
No,
Hundred and 50 acres.
no.
Put it in timeout.
That's your problem.
You tell it to go sit in the corner on timeout.
Show them the freezer.
Yeah, yeah, that's.
You wanna be,
Yes.
I'm gonna rename you dinner if you're not careful.
Hey, it's a business, a cow training business.
There you go,
Hungry,
yeah.
man,
Have you seen the lady with the Highland cow who sleeps in her bedroom and then she takes it out to the barn to feed it?
I believe it though.
That sounds like Teresa Snow. Up the road here.
No,
No names.
no names.
Too late.
Okay,
Oh,
Nick,
you're on
anything
the
else? Yes,
Agenda items for the next.
yeah, that's what I was just about to do.
Oh, I thought you already did it.
I thought you already did.
You were doing,
Yeah,
that was what I brought up.
I did.
Not really an agenda item, but just a suggestion.
So next meeting date and adjournment, well, does anyone have any agenda? See,
Yeah, see, that's why I, okay, then.
so now you're ready?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Adam, when we talked about this little handy dandy little chart, I would like to see, maybe it's not the next meeting, maybe it's the meeting after that. A little bit more information to annualize information.
It will likely be August.
Okay.
We will probably bring in the rate analysis
Okay.
for that. It'd be much more.
Clear.
Sorry, there's a word I'm looking for, concise, I would say, more encompassing with everything if we bring in the rate discussion.
Okay, so rate discussion will be in August. At this point.
Yeah, don't quote me, but that's the goal.
Okay, that's,
So then maybe if we can't, it says, we don't maybe need the rate study information, we need it just an updated version of this to see how things are going and.
Well, it'll be a cost analysis of what the cost of service is for the irrigation system. So it won't be rates necessarily, it'll be a cost of how much, what is that operating and maintenance costs for the system.
But this is very isolated to specific ditches, et cetera, and pipelines. And that's kind of what we were looking for, I believe, that's what we had asked for.
We can,
see what you can.
we're trying. I'm trying to bring in a lot of the information that is the profitability of the system. Of whether or not it's being subsidized and the other arguments that came about from that. We can continue to bring in that kind of information. But I would like to make it so you can see what the whole cost is. It kind of answers that question of, is 423,000 enough? Do we need to do a rate increase?
Or,
We need to sell more water too.
yes, there's other options.
Yeah, all the options.
Yes, not just one.
Yeah.
yeah.
If you raise the rates, you're gonna lose more accounts. You're gonna lose more inches. That's a given. That is
I
a
mean,
given.
People that have a ditch going through their property should be, we should contact them and say, hey, like, buy some water.
Well, it's the rates that are what the issue
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Rates have gone up and people have backed out of having so much water.
Right.
Yeah, but on the other hand, better green than dry
Right.
for fire.
A lot of, I think so, it's the economy. It's tough.
Well, yeah, everybody's paying more for everything, and if you raise the rates on the water, you will lose, and you get a net loss, just like you did last time.
Exactly.
Okay. Next meeting date and adjournment, the irrigation committee set the third Tuesday of each month for regular committee meetings during irrigation season and as needed or directed by the board. The next regular irrigation meeting will be on June 18th, 2024. And with that, I think we're done.
We get the motion.
Motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
What?
Do we have a second?
That's-
I'm good about making those.
Movement and second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. thank
Just for the
goodness.
committee and the board liaison edification, myself, I will be out of town